James came home late that Thursday night. I had just put the kettle on when I heard the front door open and close softly. He didn't call out my name, just dragged his suitcase in and gave me a tired nod. "Long flight?" I asked, smiling. He looked drained. "Yeah, I'm exhausted. Can we talk in the morning?" I nodded, watching him walk past me like I was part of the wallpaper. No hug, no kiss, no "I missed you." Just the smell of airport lounges and stale coffee trailing behind him. He dropped his suitcase beside the laundry room like he always did and went straight to shower. It wasn't unusual. He traveled often. And lately, his returns had all felt this distant. But I still did what I always did. Made sure he had clean clothes folded neatly and fresh towels ready for the next trip. That night, as I gathered laundry, I decided to unpack the suitcase. He usually didn't like me doing it, said he could handle it, but something told me to open it anyway. Maybe it was the silence, or the way he hadn't looked me in the eye. I unzipped it slowly. His dress shirts were crumpled, his socks stuffed in the corners. Nothing out of the ordinary, until I noticed something unusual at the base of the suitcase, a thin seam that didn't look like part of the lining. I ran my finger over it and felt the soft edge of a hidden zipper. I hesitated. This wasn't normal. I'd packed this suitcase myself before. That pocket was never there. Still, I pulled it open. Inside, nestled in the shadows, was a small red velvet box. My heart skipped. A gift? Was he planning a surprise? Was I being paranoid? With shaking hands, I lifted the box out. It felt expensive, the kind you see behind glass counters in stores I can't afford to shop in. I opened it slowly, expecting, I don't know what. Maybe a pair of earrings, a bracelet, a small, "sorry I've been so busy" gesture. Instead, I saw a delicate gold necklace, thin, elegant, with a tiny heart-shaped pendant in the center. It was beautiful, but it wasn't mine. James had never given me a necklace like this. Not for our anniversary, not for my birthday, not ever. I leaned in closer. Tucked underneath the pendant, folded neatly, was a tiny note. A chill ran down my spine. I unfolded it. "For the woman who makes my heart race again. You're everything she's not. Forever, Jay." I read it twice, 3 times. My eyes burning. The ink was smooth. His handwriting. The same loops and curls he used to leave sticky notes on the fridge with. No mistake. Then I saw the name at the bottom. Lena. I felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. Lena, my sister. My little sister. I clutched the box in one hand and the note in the other. My body was frozen, but my mind was racing. No, this wasn't possible. It had to be some misunderstanding. A mistake. Maybe it was meant for someone else. Maybe he bought it on someone's behalf. Maybe. But even as I tried to lie to myself, my heart already knew the truth. He hadn't given this to me. He never planned to. And he had hidden it. From me. The sound of the shower stopped, and I panicked. I quickly shoved the box and note back into the hidden pocket and zipped it up. I slammed the suitcase shut and pushed it back beside the laundry basket like nothing had happened. I stood up, my chest tight, my breathing shaky. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. When James walked in moments later with wet hair and a towel draped around his shoulders, I forced a smile. "You unpacked?" he asked casually. "Not yet," I said softly. "I'll get to it later." He nodded, kissed the top of my head like he always did. But this time it felt cold. Empty. I stared at him, wondering how long he'd been looking at her the way he used to look at me. And in that moment, something inside me quietly broke. The next morning, I woke up before James. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the soft light creeping through the curtains. I hadn't slept. My body had rested, but my mind? It ran all night. That necklace, that note, her name, Lena. Even just thinking it made my stomach twist. I didn't look at James while I dressed. I didn't want to see his face. Not yet. I wasn't ready to hear his voice and wonder if he'd used that same gentle tone to whisper in my sister's ear. I just needed time. Quiet time to think. As I moved around the house, the memories started coming, all the little moments I had brushed off. Moments that now felt loud, obvious. Like the time James walked into the living room and paused when he saw Lena dancing barefoot in her pajamas. He laughed, too long, and said she was a ray of sunshine this house needed. I had smiled then. I loved seeing them get along. They were family. What else was I supposed to think? Then there was the night Lena had put on a new perfume, a scent I didn't recognize. I asked where she got it. "Oh, just a gift from a friend," she had said, grinning. Later that night, James had kissed me on the cheek before bed and whispered, "You smell different tonight." He was smiling. Now I realize he wasn't talking to me. There were more signs. The way they laughed at inside jokes I didn't understand. The way he defended her when I gently asked her to help more around the house. "She's young, Nina, let her breathe," he had said once, irritated. That night, I went to bed wondering if I was being too hard on her. I told myself I was the big sister. I needed to be more patient. I reminded myself how hard life had been for Lena since college. The breakup, the job she didn't get, the way our parents always compared her to me. That's why I had offered her our guest room. That's why I cooked her favorite meals. That's why I never made her pay rent, because she was my sister. And James. James had told me he admired how much I cared for her. Now I couldn't stop wondering, did that admiration turn into desire? Or was it always there, hidden under kind words and false smiles? I sat in the kitchen sipping coffee when Olivia called. She was my coworker, but we'd become friends over the years. She had a sharp tongue and a sharper instinct. "You sound tired," she said. "I didn't sleep much." "James back from his trip?" I paused. "Yeah." She hesitated. "Everything okay?" I wanted to tell her. My mouth opened, but the words caught in my throat. "Just tired," I finally said. "He brought home a cold, I think." She murmured. Then after a moment, "You know, Nina, I probably shouldn't say this, but I always thought the way he looked at Lena was a little different." I froze. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," she said carefully. "I remember at that holiday party last year. She wore that red dress, and he couldn't take his eyes off her. I thought maybe I imagined it." I didn't respond. My hands started to shake again. "You okay?" Olivia asked. "Yeah," I whispered. "Yeah, I'm fine." But I wasn't. After the call, I sat still for a long time. I stared at the hallway leading to the guest room. Lena's door was closed. She was still asleep. James was in the bedroom, probably snoring softly like he always did. And there I was, sitting alone in the kitchen with a heart full of questions and a stomach full of dread. I remembered something else. That time I came home early from work, and the living room was strangely quiet. Lena popped out from the hallway looking flustered. James was right behind her. "We were just fixing the router," she said too quickly. I had laughed. "Okay. Weirdos." They laughed too. But now that memory made my skin crawl. How many moments like that had I brushed off? How many truths had I ignored? And how long had the two people I trusted most been lying to my face? That evening, I made sure James and Lena were both busy before I slipped into the laundry room. I locked the door behind me. The suitcase was still there, resting against the wall like nothing had happened. I dragged it toward me, knees weak, fingers stiff. I unzipped it slowly, listening for footsteps. The clink of dishes from the kitchen told me Lena was preparing tea. James's voice floated from the living room. He was on a work call. I crouched down and opened the hidden pocket again. There it was, the red velvet box, just as I had left it. I opened it, slowly this time. My fingers brushed the soft fabric inside. The necklace was still there, gleaming even under the dim yellow light above. A single heart-shaped pendant on a thin gold chain. Delicate, thoughtful. It was beautiful. Exactly the kind of thing James used to give me when we were younger. But this wasn't mine. I lifted the necklace, staring at the heart. I hated how my own heart reacted, the pang of longing, the flicker of hope that maybe this was all a mistake. But it wasn't. I reached under the silk lining again and pulled out the note. Same handwriting, same message. For the woman who makes my heart race again, you're everything she's not, forever, Jay. And below the message, her name, Lena, not even hidden, no code name, no initials, just my sister's name, written so casually by my husband's hand. My chest ached. I sat down on the floor, still holding the necklace. My fingers were numb. What hurt the most wasn't the affair. Not yet. It was the intimacy of the note, the soft words, the way he said she made his heart race again, as if I were a cold, distant memory and she was the fire in his life. Was that what I had become? Everything she's not. What did that even mean? I had stood beside him through so much. We built this home together. I supported him when his business was failing. I stayed up with him when he was too anxious to sleep. I kept our house running. I made sure Lena had a roof over her head. What was I not? I placed the necklace back in the box, shut it tight, and tucked it back into the hidden pocket. I zipped it up and stood, wiping my palms on my jeans. I couldn't cry. Not yet. Something in me refused to break. I needed more than a note. I needed clarity, proof, answers. I walked back to the kitchen and saw Lena pouring tea into 2 mugs. She was humming lightly, barefoot in a pink robe, her hair tied up messily. She looked happy. James walked in behind her, laughing at something she said. They both looked at me when I entered, and the moment felt strange, almost too perfect. "Tea?" Lena offered cheerfully. I shook my head. "No thanks. I'm going to lie down." "You okay?" she asked. "Just tired," I said with a soft smile. James stepped forward. "I can join you in a bit, if you want." I looked at him. I mean, really looked at him. His smile was warm, familiar, rehearsed. "I'm fine," I said. I turned and walked away before either of them could speak again. In my room, I sat at the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. There was something else I couldn't stop thinking about. The way Lena had always been drawn to James, even before she moved in. The playful teasing, the inside jokes. I always thought it was harmless. I trusted them both too much. Now, I wasn't sure I trusted even myself. I picked up my notebook and began writing everything down. The date he left, the night Lena visited her friend, the perfume, the late-night movies, and now, the necklace. I needed a plan. I needed answers. And I would find them, quietly. No scenes, no fights, not yet. I would listen, watch, wait, because something told me this box was just the beginning. The next morning, James left early for a client meeting across town. Lena was still in bed, probably asleep, wrapped in her silk sheets and dreams I didn't want to imagine. I waited 10 full minutes after the door closed behind James. Then I moved. I walked straight to the study. His laptop was there, plugged in, screen closed but not locked. James had never been careful with his passwords. He didn't need to be. He thought he had nothing to hide. I lifted the screen. It lit up instantly. No password. I clicked open the browser, expecting to find something. Maybe an email trail or calendar entries. Nothing unusual. I checked his photos, then documents. Still nothing. Then I saw the folder on the desktop, Q1 reports. It was odd. James didn't usually store work files on the desktop. And if he did, they weren't labeled like that. I opened it. My heart skipped a beat. Inside were subfolders, each named by month: January, February, March. And inside February, photos. Hundreds of them. My hands started to sweat. The first image was of a hotel suite. I recognized the bedding. I had helped him pack for that trip. He told me it was just a conference, that he'd be sharing a room with a coworker to cut costs, but the photo showed only him and someone else, Lena. In one photo, she was lying on the bed, laughing, in one of his shirts. Another showed them at a restaurant, candlelit, smiling like they were in love. Then came a video clip. I hesitated. My finger hovered over it. Then I clicked. The screen flickered and sound came on. James's voice laughing. The camera shifted and showed him wrapping something around Lena's neck, the same necklace. The red velvet box flashed in the corner of the screen. I told you it would look perfect on you, he said. Lena giggled. You're terrible. Then she kissed him. I paused the video and slammed the laptop shut, pressing my hand against my chest. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something, but I didn't. Instead, I took out my phone and snapped photos of the screen, the file folder, the video name. I needed to keep evidence, not for revenge, not yet, but to remind myself that this wasn't a bad dream, that this was real. I sat on the edge of the couch, breathing slowly. He had used his work trip, the same trip he told me was back-to-back meetings, to take my sister on a romantic getaway. He had lied to my face, then kissed my forehead and told me I was amazing for handling things at home. And Lena, how many times had she looked me in the eye since then? How many breakfasts had we shared with her sitting across from me wearing his shirt? I felt sick. Then I remembered something else. His phone. He always kept it nearby. But this morning, in his rush, he'd left it charging by the bed. I walked back into the room and picked it up. Locked. Of course. I typed in his usual code, his birth year and mine. It opened. I went straight to his messages. Nothing strange, just work contacts, a few guys from his gym. But then I tapped recently deleted. There it was, Lena, dozens of messages. I tapped recover. One by one, the texts appeared in the main inbox. You were amazing last night. She has no idea, does she? I wish we could just be free of her. Soon, I promise. I scrolled through them, each word like a knife in my stomach. He called her baby. She called him my J. They joked about me. They talked about weekends I was away. They planned things. One message made my hand go cold. She still thinks I'm coming back early because I miss her. Poor thing. That was last month. He had told me he cut his trip short because he missed my cooking. Lena had told me he was sweet for doing that. Sweet. They were both monsters. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to my email. I deleted the evidence from his phone, then placed it back where I found it, screen dark. Later that afternoon, James came home and gave me a quick kiss. He smiled like nothing had happened. I smiled back. Dinner in an hour? I asked. He nodded, loosening his tie. You're the best. Lena walked past us moments later, holding a basket of folded laundry. She smiled at me like always, and I smiled back. Because now I wasn't confused. I wasn't in denial. I knew everything. And they didn't know that I knew. The guest room door creaked open as I passed by that morning. Lena wasn't inside. Her bed was made. Perfectly. Almost too perfectly. I stood in the hallway for a second, staring at the neatly fluffed pillows. She'd never been the tidy type. She left mugs on her nightstand for days and only cleaned up when I reminded her. But now her space looked untouched. She was getting better at covering her tracks. I walked downstairs and found her in the kitchen, already dressed and stirring her tea. She smiled. Morning, sis. Morning, I replied. James was still asleep. He had worked late last night, or so he said. I had stayed awake in bed, listening to the way his fingers tapped away on his phone in the dark. Now, sitting at the kitchen table with Lena quietly sipping tea across from me, I knew I had to go deeper. I needed more than messages. more than the video. I needed something undeniable. Something that left no room for excuses. That's when I remembered the Paris trip. 3 months ago, James had told me he was going on a company retreat, a weekend in Paris for a sales seminar. He'd asked if I wanted to join, but then changed his mind, saying, "It'll be all meetings, boring stuff. I'll FaceTime you." I had watched him pack. I'd ironed his shirts. I kissed him goodbye. Lena had left that same weekend to visit her old roommate in another city. I remember offering to drop her off at the station, but she said she'd already booked a cab. Now it felt different. I went upstairs, opened the drawer in James's home office, and pulled out the small accordion folder where he kept travel receipts. He was old school, liked to keep physical copies of everything. Sure enough, there was the one labeled Paris, February. I slid it out carefully and opened it. The flight confirmation had only one name, James Carter. But further down, something else caught my eye. A hotel booking. 3 nights at a luxury suite in the 7th arrondissement. And right beneath that, spa package for 2, reserved under Carter. I stared at it. There was no work seminar listed, no conference room booking, no itinerary with company logos, just a suite, a spa, dinner reservations for 2. And then I found the last page, a thank you note from the hotel concierge. It read, "Mr. Carter, we hope you and your companion enjoyed your romantic stay with us. We'd be delighted to host you both again soon." Romantic. My hand trembled as I folded the papers back into the envelope. I walked into the bedroom and sat down, my mind racing. He had taken her there, to Paris, the city where he first proposed to me, and now he had taken my sister to the same place. I opened my phone and called Olivia. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, everything okay?" "I need to ask you something," I said. "Sure." "Back in February, the weekend James went to Paris, did you see Lena that weekend?" There was a pause. "Actually, yeah, that Sunday. We ran into each other at a cafe downtown. She said she just got back from a weekend trip." "Did she say where she went?" "She said Paris, I think. I remember joking, 'Wow, fancy getaway.' She just laughed and said she needed a break." I closed my eyes. "She was wearing this gorgeous necklace too," Olivia added. "I assumed it was yours, or maybe a gift from your mom." My voice was calm. "No, it wasn't." Olivia's tone shifted. "Nina, what's going on?" "I can't explain right now," I said quietly, "but thank you." After the call, I sat there for a long time, holding that spa receipt in one hand and the necklace photo on my phone in the other. There it was, proof. They had lied to me, together. They had walked hand in hand through Paris streets, shared wine and hotel sheets, all while pretending they were somewhere else. That wasn't just betrayal. It was cruelty. And yet, neither of them looked at me with guilt. Neither flinched. Neither avoided eye contact. They still smiled. Still talked to me, like nothing had happened, but I knew. And soon they would know that I knew. After everything I had seen, the hotel receipts, the spa booking, the necklace, I thought nothing else could shock me. I thought I had reached the peak of betrayal. But I was wrong. What I found next made my stomach turn. It happened on a Tuesday. I had stayed home from work that day, partly because I couldn't face anyone and partly because something in me didn't feel settled. I kept wondering how deep this rabbit hole went. James had lied. Lena had lied. The money, the secrets, the smirks, none of it made sense unless there was more. And unfortunately, there was. I was in the guest room, gathering some laundry when I heard a chime, the sound of my son's tablet powering up. He must have left it on the bed. Curious, I tapped it. He'd left open his drawing app, filled with stick figures and superhero doodles. But in the top corner of the screen, I noticed something odd. A folder labeled Home, with a lock icon. I almost ignored it. until I remembered James once helped our son install a security cam app, claiming he needed to keep an eye on the dog when we weren't home. I tapped the folder. It asked for a pattern. I tried the shape of our son's first initial and it opened. Inside were several video files. The first one was just shaky footage of our backyard. The second? That one changed everything. The video opened to a recording of our living room late at night. James was sitting on the couch, and Lena was beside him, her legs curled under her like she belonged there. I watched, frozen. He leaned in, kissed her, then whispered, "We'll tell her it was just a misunderstanding. She's emotional. She'll believe it." Lena laughed. "She's always been slow when it comes to love, I told you." My heart clenched. Then James said something that made my hand cover my mouth. He said, "I took care of the loan already. She'll never trace it. It's under her name, but routed through my offshore account. The money's already in your savings." Lena smiled. "Good. I can finally book that trip to Bali." He pulled her close. "I told you I'd take care of you better than your ex ever did." The video ended. I sat there on the edge of the bed for almost 20 minutes. The betrayal wasn't just emotional now. It was financial, legal, criminal. He used my name to take out a $100,000 loan and funneled it to Lena, my own sister, and the worst part? They knew I'd find out eventually. They just didn't care. I saved the video to my phone, backed it up on 3 separate drives. Then I picked up the necklace I had found in his car glove compartment, the one with Lena's name engraved. I placed it next to the spa booking receipts and the hotel key card. I printed out the text exchanges I'd found in his synced cloud account, including the ones he thought were deleted. I took photos of everything, created a folder, labeled it, "For my lawyer." Later that night, I didn't speak a word. James came home with fast food, pretending like he hadn't been ruining my life for months. Lena called and asked if I'd bring her some of her old clothes. Said she was short on outfits for an event. The nerve, I said sure, and that I'd be seeing them both very soon. They laughed, thinking I was still the clueless older sister, the quiet wife. But in my silence, I was building something. Something cold, something legal, something final. Because now I had the one thing they never expected me to have, proof. And they were about to learn that the woman they thought was soft was preparing to strike. I once read that the deepest kind of betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the people you've fed, sheltered, and loved without limits. I never really understood that until I found myself staring at my husband and my sister, standing in my living room, pretending like they hadn't destroyed me behind my back. But that's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't end with heartbreak. It ends with consequences. And I made sure of that. It started quietly. I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I didn't throw things or demand answers. I hired a lawyer. Her name was Valerie Parks, sharp as a blade and calm like ice. The first thing she said to me was, "You're not the first woman to come in here with this story, but if you're ready to play smart, not emotional, I can help you end this on your terms." I handed her everything, the hotel receipts, the necklace photo, the spa package, the text screenshots, the video from my son's tablet. And then, the most painful piece of all, the $100,000 loan document in my name. James had borrowed it to renovate the house, but it turns out he sent the bulk of it to Lena, a foreign bank account under her name. Valerie traced every transfer. "He didn't just cheat emotionally," she said. "He defrauded you financially. That's criminal." I didn't say a word. I just nodded. The day everything came crashing down, James was on the phone laughing in the backyard. Lena was upstairs on a video call, probably telling someone about the new luxury apartment she planned to rent. I had them both served. James opened the envelope and went pale. "What the hell is this?" "Divorce," I said flatly, "and fraud charges." His face crumpled in disbelief. "You're joking." "I've never been more serious in my life." Lena came rushing down the stairs seconds later, reading her own legal notice. "Are you crazy?" she snapped. "You're suing me?" "You took out a loan in my name," I said. "You stole from me. That's fraud. You're not just my sister anymore. You're a criminal." She looked at James. "You said she'd never find out." James looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Oh, and I wasn't done. I had already gone to the bank, pressed charges, and froze the account. Lena's slush fund was gone. The luxury apartment? Never happening. James's company, where he held a senior position, received a detailed anonymous tip, with every document attached. HR launched an ethics investigation the next morning. He was escorted out by security the following week. I also made sure my parents knew. At Sunday dinner, I handed my mother the envelope. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the photos, the receipts, the proof. She looked up, eyes wide. "Nina." Dad read in silence, then leaned back in his chair. "Get out," he told Lena without raising his voice. She sputtered. "But I didn't." "Get out." And she did. For once, she didn't talk back. It's been 5 months since that day. The divorce is finalized. The house is in my name. The loan was cleared after my legal team proved identity theft. James is now on the hook for the full amount, not me. He tried calling. I blocked him. He tried emailing. I forwarded everything to Valerie. He even tried showing up at my door once. I handed him the diaper bag he once refused to pack for our son and told him, "Take care of yourself. You're good at pretending you don't need me, remember?" Now, every time I walk into my living room, I smile. It's peaceful. There's no more pretending, no more lies, no more Lena sneaking around like a queen in someone else's castle. She and James regret it now, not just because they lost me, but because they thought I'd stay quiet. They thought I was weak. But I was never weak. I was just patient. And by the time they realized it was too late to undo what I'd done.